Hi, you're listening to a student-focused episode of the Sociology Show podcast. If you're studying the subject at GCSE, A-level, foundation, degree, or any other discipline, then this podcast could be of help to you. If you have a question for the show, then you can email the Sociology Show podcast at gmail.com, and one of the teachers, lecturers, examiners, or experts will answer your question for you. You can sponsor the show on the GoFundMe page and subscribe on all the usual podcast platforms. If you're going to class, going to the gym, or just chilling, put your headphones in and let's be sociology geeks together, eh? Hello and welcome to a student-focused episode of the Sociology Show podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Collins. High-quality student books, teacher guides and unbeatable value revision for GCSE and A-level sociology. And so Sociology Show listeners can get 25% off Collins Sociology resources until the end of December 2021, including the new book, How to be a Sociologist, an inspiring introduction to studying sociology at A-level and university. Simply head to collins.co.uk/sociology show and enter the code sociology show at the checkout. Terms and conditions apply. I'll give you that again. It's collins.co.uk/sociology show. And if you enter the code sociology show at the checkout, then you are entitled to 25% off Collins Sociology resources. The Sociology Show podcast is also brought to you in association with Tutor2U Sociology, the exam performance specialist for A-level and GCSE sociology students and teachers. And so you can visit their website, which is tutor2u.net/sociology, for revision guides, flashcards, revision videos, and everything else that you need for your A-level or GCSE sociology studies. And so the focus of the episode today is International Men's Day. And I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Ashley Morgan. Hi there, Ashley. How are you?
Hi there. I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thank you. And thanks for joining me to talk about International Men's Day. I thought this was really postmodern. We've got a male interviewing a female about International Men's Day. I thought that was quite postmodern.
I think it's postmodern now.
Postmodern, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So, Ashley, you approached me and said you wanted to talk about this really important issue. So do you want to go for it?
Yes, I do. One of the things I find quite interesting about International Men's Day is how unpopular it is. I only came across it myself through the comedian Richard Herring on Twitter. And so on International Women's Day, which is the 28th of March, some people on Twitter get quite angry that women are having a day, and what about men? What about men? And we hear this what about quite a lot in all manners of areas, whether it's in research or popular culture or in any kind of interview. And what was interesting is that Richard Herring took it upon himself to promote International Men's Day, because what he would do, he would try and, if people on Twitter said, well, what about men? What about when's their day? Richard Herring would respond with, it's the 19th of November. So what that led me to understand was how badly International Men's Day is promoted, and also what is it? So I did some digging around, and I discover that it is a movement for talking to men and trying to get men to talk a bit more fully about mental health, emotional well-being, and physical well-being. They've got an amazing website with lots of really, really depressing statistics. One of the most awful statistics that they have is that the biggest killer of men under the age of 50 is suicide, which is it's such a horrible statistic. And yet, the more you look around, the more you can imagine that actually it's not unreasonable to think that it is suicide, because we see more and more men's mental health collapsing. And for me as a researcher as well, I was thinking, I wasn't particularly researching into men's health at all, although I have a health background many, many years ago. I'm much more interested in examining what men wear and incidences of toxic masculinity in popular culture. I wasn't really looking to do or to have any interest really in men's health, but when you research into masculinities as a subject, men's health comes up quite a lot, either in a very obvious manner or really tangentially. So one of the things that I did, so I asked some friends, what do you know about International Men's Day? And they said, oh, isn't every day International Men's Day?
I knew you were going to say that. Sorry to interrupt you, but I was going to say to you that it's the most common response I get whenever it's mentioned. Yeah.
And it's a very interesting response, really, because it suggests to us that on the one hand, we're all aware of patriarchy. But on the other hand, what we don't see and what isn't commonly talked about is the fact that many men are not powerful, are not rich, are not fantastically healthy, and that lots of men are actually struggling. But there are massive complexities around that in terms of the cultural construct of masculinity. If we're brought up in a boys don't cry culture, then that causes massive knock-on effect for men and everybody else who meets them. One of the things that has been becoming quite clear to me is that many men make friends when they're younger, and there's lots of things that are promoted through peer pressure. Things like smoking and drinking as teens and adolescents is much more likely to happen through peer pressure than any other kind of influence. So I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about why some men are angry, or they take the mick out of each other, or they can be very cruel. And I wondered really whether it was to do with the fact that for some men, their peers, they're surrounded by peers who are quite toxic, or who think that the only way to be in a group of men is to be negative about the idea of masculinity, and also negative about women and other people. So the idea is that there are some strict rules around masculinity, which are very sort of heteronormative. They're often very white, and that anybody else is not really considered to be useful. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking that the idea that every day is Men's Day shows really a disregard for the problems that lots of men face, and perhaps feed into then the problems. It sort of reinforces issues around masculinity. Men then perhaps don't feel like they can ask for help. Men also traditionally have not sought health support either, from either going to the doctors or getting tested. There are far fewer annual tests for men anyway than there are for women, but there are some. And International Men's Day is about promoting men doing things like feeling the prostate. But also, I think it's a real opening. It's a really good idea for men to start talking about their emotions. So what I've done is created a very short video. I asked some people that I knew what they thought men could do to help themselves express their emotions better. And I've had some really interesting people coming back to me. The main thing that men talk about that they think other men can do is to both talk and listen, and also to be friends to each other, and not just friends in a I'll pick you up when you're down, falling down drunk kind of stereotype, but to actually open up and listen. That's what literally everybody said. People say it's good to talk. Other people said reach out. They said it's not okay to not be okay, and to just really reinforce that, to move away from the stereotype of boys don't cry, and therefore men shouldn't feel emotional, they shouldn't express emotion. One of the emotions that seems to be the most commonly expressed is that of anger. And there seems to be quite a conflation of anger and masculinity. We almost expect men to be angry. And I think culturally we support and encourage that. Whether we do this consciously or not, I don't know. But we expect men to be angry and to express themselves in that way, and that is appropriate. Increasingly, I think that's becoming more and more problematic. I think the rise of the alt-right stirs up a lot of anger in people who perhaps feel disenfranchised. The rise of social media on things like as a platform for the alt-right is highly problematic. As a researcher, I get trolled every week by somebody because people don't like the things I say about masculinity. Fortunately, it's a free country, but I do see quite a lot of anger. But anger is, a very, very difficult and often can be out of hand. It can be something that gets out of hand very, very quickly. So I would just like to encourage people to think about International Men's Day, not as a joke, not as for men are figures of fun. Yes, we live in a patriarchy. Yes, we see lots of toxicity around us, but lots of people are suffering. And I think we just need to be aware of that, really.
Yeah. And I wanted to pick up on the first point you were saying, because this is certainly what I've found, because working in various different colleges, I've always tried to do something both on International Women's Day and International Men's Day. Yeah. The first response I often get is exactly as you said. A lot of people saying, oh, isn't every day Men's Day? And then I have been challenged as well. What have men got that's problematic? What have they got to worry about? What have they got to complain about? And here's the bit that worries me. If I reeled off, for example, men's health, they're more likely to die early, high suicide rates, underperformance in school, more likely to be homeless, more likely to die in their position of work. Quite often the response is, well, yeah, but apart from that. Now, to me, that's really worrying, that if men's suicide rates and dying early is not considered important, that's really worrying. So to go back to what you said, actually, I mean, couldn't that be driving a lot of men's anger? If men are frustrated by all these issues and they feel like they're not being listened to, that is going to push up anger.
I think there's a number of things about anger. And one of the things I think is again, this sort of, is that we live in a culture which respects men's anger. Mm. And, you see it. You see it in things like Parliament, people furiously shouting at each other, throwing things. When you see Prime Minister's question time, the behaviour in a chamber like that, which is, basically enacting laws, is absolutely appalling. And lots of people are getting angry in things like Prime Minister's question time, but it trickles all the way throughout society. I don't think there is a class or group of people that anger doesn't affect, nor that men don't feel acceptable. They feel accepted displaying anger, really. Yeah. And I do think there's I think there's a massive problem. People aren't brought up to talk about their emotions. Again, we live in a boys don't cry culture. Still, even in the 21st century, I have to pinch myself sometimes and say, look, it's 20 years since the millennium, and frankly, things are getting worse. People are becoming more toxic. More men are dying. And not just that, more men are likely to be homeless. And the biggest number of people in prison are men. So there's a massive problem somewhere along the line that men aren't having support because they aren't considered a group of people that need supporting. And that's half the population. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Half the population is in an absolute, I don't like to call it crisis because that feeds into this sort of masculinity in crisis, sort of 30 years ago idea of, men being really upset that women were in the workplace and that kind of thing. I think it's deeper than that, actually. It's much more about the culture in which people grow up in. And in my video, some of the young people that I've interviewed, they say things like, you may see emotion in Hollywood films, but you don't see it outside of them. And they were sort of talking about where you can find examples of positive emotion. And it's really hard to see, actually. And there are no sort of peer groups. Social media is just raises people up and brings them down. I'm really interested in the way Marcus Rashford is being treated, yes. A 23-year-old man. People are extremely angry at him. And actually what he's saying is incredibly anodyne things, such as, let's give money to certain groups of people. People don't like to see that kind of, a person like him, somebody from a working class background, having a voice. And lots of people are trying to silence that voice. And another thing that people say in my video is listen, both talk and listen. And those are really important things. Traditionally, men have found it really hard to talk because they're never given the tools to talk. and to express their emotions and to say it's okay. It's okay to break down. That's fine. That's natural and normal, actually. It's much less natural and normal to push everything down and to have no outlets. Now, some people have got sport as an outlet, but not everybody. And sport also isn't really, we see in things like demonstration on pitches, demonstration of fans, that sometimes anger is an extremely potent emotion.
Yes. I just wondered then, because there is some controversy around International Men's Day, and I just wondered, is that one of the issues? And I'm going to ask you a controversial question, but if, for example, we look at gender equality movements or the feminist movement, it does tend to focus on the issues of females, and many people have said it ignores the issues that men face. So, first of all, I don't know to what extent you'd agree with that. And also, is that an example that sometimes men's issues are silenced or forgotten or not even talked about?
Yes, there are two answers to that, really. First of all, it depends on what type of feminism you're talking about. Yes. Radical feminism it talks about equality for everybody, because there is no point saying that women should be equal with men, because which men are you referring to? Are you referring to men who are homeless or drug addicts? And do women want to be equal to men who are in that position? Who exactly do you mean? And also, the other point is that I've slightly forgotten what you said.
I was just asking, is that an example of kind of men's issues being silenced? Because often when men do raise issues that they think are unfair, they're often almost told to shut up. Like, you haven't got anything to worry about. You're the powerful group. We live under patriarchy. And often those kind of male concerns are swept away, I think.
Possibly. But I think the strongest message is don't go there in the first place. Mm. Don't even dip your toe in the water of talking about your problem, because there is literally no social or cultural infrastructure to help. There isn't. You say, there are equal equality groups and various things, but there is no overarching structure that says, actually, it's okay if you feel emotion and you're a man. It just doesn't really exist, because we are very concerned with the sex binary, I think, that women should be women and that men should be men, and that there are certain ways of acting gender out that are more appropriate than others, which I think is the most problematic thing, really. But as well, I can't see anything that, how would you change this then? In an ideal world, how would we change this? In an ideal world, we would make sure that school children learnt to get on with each other and respect each other's gender differences. Increasingly, though, I find this to be problematic. That isn't happening. Actually, what is happening is the old binaries of girls can't do this and boys shouldn't do that. Yeah. And, people are going to grow up thinking that, and then they are going to enact that out. And they will be encouraged to do so as well, is the other thing. Children will be encouraged to be, children will encourage to be boys and physical and messing about and that kind of thing. And girls will be encouraged to be silent. I had a very interesting incident in a shop last year where I was standing looking at the toys, and there were some people behind me, and they were trying to buy a present for their little girl. And there was a really, really nice science set. And there were two science sets. There was a really fantastic one which had everything. And then there was a pink one for girls, which had very little of the exciting crystal growing and blowing up stuff. And I just sort of turned to the people, and the chap was saying, I really want to buy that for her. But you can imagine if I took that home. If he took the science set that wasn't pink home for his daughter, everybody would laugh at him.
Yeah, or even the suggestion that it would have to be made pink to encourage the girl to play with it in the first place. That's hugely problematic, isn't it?
It's problematic. Lego is one of the most egregious ones, I think. Lego is just coloured bricks. So the reason, I don't know why, I don't think people would buy them necessarily for girls, but Lego has a whole set of Lego Friends, which is about girls meeting together and talking in bedrooms. Literally, that's what you can make out of Lego, is girls talking to each other in a bedroom. Wow. And it just drives me absolutely crazy. And and you see, so there is some attempt by Lego. I'm not dissing Lego, but there is some attempt by Lego to change that a little. But it's really interesting how they're embedding gender stereotypes for children. I mean, just, if anybody's wanting to do some research, undergraduate students or school sixth formers, if you're interested in doing a bit of content research this Christmas, all you have to do is watch the adverts and count the gendered toys.
Yeah.
That's a lovely piece of research you could do, and it will be very interesting what you find.
Well, it's slightly more than slightly disturbing that we're still seeing adverts for boys encouraging them to play with toy guns and act as soldiers and weapons and so on. I mean, what are we doing? It's ridiculous, isn't it?
We're just playing into gender norms, really. Yeah. But also, and on the one hand, I find that really difficult because on the one hand, there seems to be no problem encouraging guns and war things with boys. But on the other hand, people worry far too much, I think, about gendering girls into sort of dolls and things. And you think, well, why is that? Well, why is it okay for boys to play with guns, but it's a bit less okay for girls to play with dolls? It seems to be more stereotypical. And whereas, the whole gun thing is just very queer, very odd if you look at it closely, I think. And I find it, because I have twin girls, I just find it really interesting because one of them is totally a Lego head and the other is a doll head, and that's great. But they play with each other and they play with each other's things. I think it's fine for girls to play with dolls and boys to play with guns to some degree, although I don't like guns at all. I think that's that's problematic. But I don't know what we can do to change that, because I think it's all about marketing.
Yeah. And can I just go back to ask you about the International Men's Day? Because one of my concerns is that often people who promote International Men's Day, or even raise kind of men's issues, if you like, are often criticised as being misogynistic or being anti-feminist. And I think that's really concerning that that's the assumption made. I don't know if you've encountered anything similar.
To be honest, I haven't, but I'm interested in that. That idea that I'm just thinking about Jessica Taylor, who wrote the amazing book, Why
Women Are Blamed for Everything. That one is.
Women Are Blamed for Everything.
Yeah.
And I read an interview by her recently where somebody said, so you've said all these things about women. So, for parity, what would you say about men? And she basically said, well, I don't need to talk about men because they talked about everywhere else. I don't have to do it. I'm talking about women. So she very much clearly makes the distinction in that, which I think is absolutely reasonable within what she's doing. The problem is, I think, that we have got to the point where we only think that it's women who need to talk about things, and that therefore, because women talk about things, men don't need to. I don't know why. Again, it's the whole, boys aren't encouraged to talk. They aren't, they're encouraged to pick themselves up. I read something on Twitter a while ago that just really pained me, where it said something like, oh, I can't believe it. It was a guy saying, my sister is bringing up her sons to be all sensitive and vegan. I mean, that's not going to fly, is it? I was thinking, well, maybe we could do with more sensitive vegan men who don't rely on stereotypes to get through. But actually, there just needs to be support. Just support each other.
That's what I think. That's the bit that concerns me. That it's not a competition. You can support both. You can actively support International Women's Day and International Men's Day, and understand the pressures that both genders face. And it's not a competition, one against each other. I
think it's generally believed that competitiveness again is a masculine trope. As if women can't be competitive, or that it's not right that they should be. Whereas men is it's absolutely about, being first, being on top, being the best. And that's natural for men to do that or want to do that. And really, that's just a construction, isn't it? And again, one of the people in my video said, stop trying to be overbearing, stop trying to be competitive, stop trying to be top of the pile.
So, Ashley, you mentioned you've put together a video. So where can people watch that?
Yep. So the video is on my page at university. It's called researchintomasculinities.org. And there's lots of information on there. It's mainly a way of asking people to come and study with us, but we've got lots of information there, and we're a very transdisciplinary research group. So I shall send you the link for you to have a look, Matthew, in case you have students that might want to come and work with us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And are you celebrating International Men's Day in any particular way at your institution or at all?
I have done it at my institution, so I have pushed it forward as an item that the institution celebrates or at least discusses. I don't know if anybody else is doing anything. And normally, if I was in work as opposed to being at home, I would have done something a bit more physical around International Men's Day, maybe got somebody in to give a talk and do some things with people. Because again, I think it's really important. I think it's really important to talk about the fact that masculinity is masculinities, as Connell would say, and that there are different kinds of masculinity, and not everybody is in a position of power.
Agreed. And for parity, I'll get you back in March for International Women's Day.
Yes, I've got lots to say about that.
Thank you so much for your time today, and look forward to seeing the video, and I hope other people get involved and take an interest in International Men's Day and keep on promoting it.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.
If you are a regular listener to The Sociology Show, then you could help with the costs of promoting and hosting the podcast. If you can spare even a small amount, then you can donate on the GoFundMe.com website by searching for The Sociology Show. There is no obligation, of course, and all future downloads will continue to be free. A huge thank you to all those that have already donated. Your kind gesture will help to continue keep the show going and growing. Best wishes and keep enjoying the show.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the podcast. If you would like to contact the show or be interviewed, then please email thesociologyshowpodcast@gmail.com.
I love a Costa gingerbread latte, extra hot.
A really strong Kenko Americano. Yeah, that's the one.
A Laura Espresso, not too intense though.
Make it personal with the Tassimo My Way 2 from Bosch. Create custom coffees by setting the temperature, size and strength just the way you like it.
Definitely a large Kenko cappuccino. Love it.
Tassimo.
Coffee shop quality at home at the touch of a button.
Search Tassimo from Bosch.
Visit loggytravel.co.uk and book your next trip to Benidorm, a destination with 300 days of sun where there's something for everyone. Whether you're looking for fun, relaxation, outdoor activities, great food, or a bit of everything. Beaches, coves, restaurants, shops, theme parks, sports activities, shows, and so much more. Let's go. Remember, visit Benidorm with loggytravel.co.uk.
Holidays Loggy Travel.
The Sociology Show podcast relies on the kind contributions of sponsorship and donations. If you enjoy the show, then you can help with the hosting costs by donating as little as £5 on the GoFundMe page. Simply visit uk.gofundme.com and search for The Sociology Show. If you can donate, then you will be sent a Sociology Show pen as a small thank you for your continued support of the show.